It is now in order to consider amendment number 10, printed in House Report 112-283. For what purpose does the gentleman from Washington seek recognition?
I have an amendment at the desk.
Clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 10, printed in House Report number 112-283, offered by Mr. Reichert of Washington.
Pursuant to House Resolution 463, the gentleman from Washington, Mr. Reichert, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today we're here considering a national reciprocity law for concealed firearms licenses and permits. I've always supported the Second Amendment rights for people to carry and keep firearms. I come at this from a little bit of a different perspective. I was a police officer for 33 years. I worked the streets for 6 years in a patrol car, SWAT commander, hostage negotiator. I've had guns pointed at me. I've looked down the barrel of a shotgun. I've looked down the barrel of a rifle. I've heard the shots fly by. I've been at the other end of the gun too. Fortunately, not had to fire at anyone. But in the protection of people in my community, I've experienced being at both ends of a firearm. So I understand and I get the concerns of cops, my brothers and sisters in law enforcement. What we want to make sure today is that those law enforcement officers across this country that protect us, and here protecting us while we're in the Capitol today, are equipped and prepared to enforce this law. I have a concern. So my amendment would require that the GAO look into whether or not law enforcement officers are able and have the ability to verify the validity of out-of-state concealed firearms permits and licenses. Within 1 year of enactment, results of this study will be reported to the House Judiciary Committee and the Senate Judiciary Committee. Our state and local law enforcement across this country every day put their lives on the line. They put the badge on, they put their uniforms, they walk out into the street, they walk out into the patrol cars, and they're putting their life on the line. It's a risk and responsibility that they gladly accept. They want to come home safely, of course, to their families, but they know the risks when they leave their home. They know the risks when they put on the badge. We owe it to them to ensure the underlying bill does not create any unintended consequences or additional safety concerns. Right now, it's unclear whether every cop in every jurisdiction across this nation can efficiently determine the validity of concealed firearms permits. Each state decides how best to store that information and have access to its own concealed carry permit information, but maybe not that of other states. I only have so much time, so I apologize, not yet. Only 12 states are right now participating in a program that allows electronic access to Joint Concealed Carry Database. In the remaining 38 states, law enforcement officers are required to contact appropriate local officials over the phone or by email. This method is not timely enough and not effective. We must understand how long it takes for law enforcement officers to determine whether an out-of-state concealed carry permit is legitimate or fraudulent. This is critical to both the safety of the cops in patrolling our neighborhoods and to protecting the rights of law-abiding citizens. This GAO study will help us better understand the impact of national reciprocity for concealed firearms on our nation's law enforcement and their ability to effectively enforce the law. We must pass this amendment to ensure that our cops have the adequate tools to enforce this law, and I'd like to give the rest of my time, reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves the balance of his time. Who claims time in opposition?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman from Michigan.
I thank you very much, and I merely wanted to ask our distinguished colleague from Washington if I understood correctly that the GAO would conduct a study about the ability of the state and local law enforcement to verify the validity of out-of-state concealment after this bill was passed. And I yield to the gentleman.
Thank you for yielding. The question is whether or not the This study is tied to the passage of the bill. No, the study is not tied to the passage of the bill. The study will begin upon passage of the bill and will last, and the report must be filed before 1 year is up.
I see. Could I ask the gentleman why we wouldn't conduct the study in front of the bill rather than after the bill?
Well, the way that this amendment is presented, it's presented allowing the study to go on as law enforcement encounters this new law. We'll then know, of course, what challenges they face as they look to enforce the law. We won't know all of those things until the law is in place.
Well, could I suggest that perhaps our responsibility as federal legislators might be to determine the impact of this proposal on public safety before we pass it, not years later after we've passed it. Would the gentleman concede that that might be the more appropriate path that we normally take?
Yes, sir. You're yielding once again. Thank you. Yes, sir. That's what my amendment is intended to do, is to gather that information so that we can appropriately revise the current policies that may exist in police departments across the country and sheriff's offices across the country.
I thank the gentleman.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I yield back the balance of my time, and
Gentleman yields back the balance of his time. Gentleman from Washington has 1 minute remaining.
Yes, sir. I'd like to yield the balance of my time to the distinguished chairman of the Judiciary Committee.
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank the gentleman from Washington, a former sheriff himself, for yielding me time. And I appreciate his offering this amendment, which requests a study by the Government Accountability Office on the ability of state and local law enforcement agencies to verify the validity of non-resident concealed carry permits. The study requested by the gentleman's amendment will provide additional assurance that non-resident permit information can be verified by law enforcement officers across the country. So I urge my colleagues to support his amendment, and I'll yield back as well.
That's the balance of his time. Question occurs on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Washington. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Chair, the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.